Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel with myself, Jacob Culshaw, Sam Ucko, Charlie Zazzera, back again in the international break, not to talk about a managerial change like the last video, which myself and Charlie talked about Paolo Pezzolano leaving, Javi Gracia coming in. We will get Sam's thoughts on that in just a second. He's back, and one man who could also be returning is Emmanuel Dennis. Who would have thought? Watford's getting the band back together. Gino Pozzo getting the band back together. It's a mad football club, isn't it? It really, really is. Sam, look, it's been a little while since you were on a stream, on a video, on a podcast. What's new? How was Amsterdam? First of all, because you mentioned that Steven Berghouse's shirt was hanging up in the Ajax Stadium in the Johan Cruyff Arena. How was it?
Before that, happy birthday, Mr. Sam Ucko.
Happy birthday!
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hoping for another. Do you know what I actually realised? Quite a depressing birthday stat if we're going with it. Turning 23 today. Over the age of being 22, if you think about me being like a home and away Watford fan, I witnessed one away win over the age of being 22, being at a game, which was Derby away. I didn't see any other away wins over the last year, which was a bit of a sobering thought, to be honest with you. But thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And Amsterdam was great. I love just doing those sort of city breaks, a couple of days away. I think, Jacob, you went away this weekend, didn't you, as well? I love it. It's a great city.
Recommend Amsterdam, Sam?
100%. I don't think myself, I'm not, I don't think it was the sort of Amsterdam trip that I feel like a lot of other people would go on, to be honest with you. Because when I want my kicks, I tend to head down to the Mad Squirrel, which is 7 minutes away from Vicarage Road. But it's a great city, and the Johan Cruyff Arena as well. By the way, what an unbelievable stadium! I didn't see a match there; just did the stadium tour. Unbelievable. And I was sat in the dugout actually, where Steven Berghaus would have been on the bench a few times over the last couple of seasons, when I got a notification that Paolo Pezzolano had officially been relieved of his duties. So never a quiet time supporting Watford.
Sam, international Hornet, giving his live reaction to Paolo Pezzolano midway through the Ajax Stadium tour. You love to see it. Charlie, what's new since we last spoke?
Not a lot. I'm going away this weekend, which I am pure buzzing about. So, just working, getting all my bits and bobs, bit of shopping. No Watford clubber was bought. I did buy this Jamaica shirt though.
Oh,
Gonna get maps on the back, so I'm gonna need to ask him to sort that out. Obviously, good seeing that video and all the content the club putting out. Mariappa featured in that, didn't he? But it's been good. I don't know how are you feeling, Jacob? A week after the big Javi news.
I don't know about you guys, and we'll cross over to Sam to get his sort of in-depth thoughts on it. It still hasn't really sunk in for me. It was quite weird, actually. What we will say is the only club in world football to sack a manager and appoint one in the same statement. I mean, it couldn't really get more Watford than that since Gino Pozzo's been here. But it was kind of like, you saw the clips of like Javi remembering the pin on the training grounds entrance and him going into his office and going, "I'm coming home." And it was kind of like that really cool uncle that you see maybe like once every year. And they like pop out and you're like, "Wow, I love spending time with you, but I won't see you for a little while." And then you're kind of like seeing that uncle a bit more regularly than you used to. And you're thinking, where is that? What's happened? Like, I forgot about you. I forgot how cool you were. And he's back, and I'm just like, he's quite a reassuring presence, Javi, I think. Like, even when I see the clips online, it's just, I still haven't really wrapped my head around him coming back. Even for Watford, I think he's like the 22nd appointment we've had since 2012. And it just feels a little bit surreal. So, Sam, we gave our thoughts on the last video. If you want to sort of hear our initial reaction and thoughts, and we were very open and honest about what we thought about it. And hopefully we sort of hit the mark in terms of how most of our listeners and video and viewers are feeling at the minute. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But for you, Sam, you saw it in Amsterdam come through, Pezzolano gone. We said it was when, not if, with him. But I guess the bigger question is your thoughts on Javi coming back, because I don't think anyone really could have predicted it.
I mean, just this football club just gets more and more bizarre by the week, by the month, by the day. Just yeah, I wouldn't put anything past us to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm really, really torn on this, to be honest with you. Like, I genuinely, I don't know how I feel, because on the one hand, I'm feeling really positive about it. I think purely from a sentimental point of view, maybe I thought Javi did a fantastic job when he was first at the football club, obviously achieving our highest ever Premier League finish, getting us to an FA Cup final, some really memorable days. I think that was actually my first season on the channel, actually, you know, seeing you outside the Hornet shop after games, Jacob, and doing fan cams with Robin and with Shane. And yeah, so quite a sentimental season for me, actually. And I feel that way towards Javi generally. And I think you're right, like there's just a warming feel around him and the content that the club put out. I mean, to be honest with you, not a lot has changed. The PID on the door hasn't changed. I think in the manager's office, the kit is the same kit on the wall as the one that when we got relegated in the Premier League first time around. So yeah, I feel positive in that respect, but I don't know why. Just something in me. Maybe it's just the eternal pessimist within me. I'm just not sure at the moment if anyone can do well in this job with, you know, an article that I'm not sure if it had come out when you guys recorded the video, but with potentially Mogi Bayat players being picked. And I think what's very much come clear is it was Pezzolano's agency or his management giving their side of the story, so to speak. So yeah, I'm really, really torn on it, to be honest with you. Yeah, and I think as well, in the back of my head, I am just thinking back to Kike 2.0, which was a disaster, as we know, 10 games or so, or however long he lasted, where, yeah, I can't really think of too many highlights in that period. So, yeah, obviously right behind him, but yeah, I don't know, just something doesn't seem 100% right to me.
Sam mentioned a couple of articles coming out since we last recorded, because we sort of initially reacted to those first bits of news and you could tell it was going to happen. So Watford then released this statement, which we didn't touch upon, guys. And Charlie, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. This was the statement I was referring to where Watford appointed and sacked the manager in the same statement. I wanted to start with this, because I thought this said a lot about what Watford's, the reason they got rid of Pezzolano. Watford are delighted to confirm the return of Javi Gracia as head coach after signing part ways with Paulo Pezzolano and his backroom staff, whom we thank sincerely for their efforts and commitment during their time in charge. We wish them every success in the future. Now, this really says, this paragraph here, which I've highlighted, is key. In appointing Javi, the club are confident that he will bring the qualities we believe are vital for this young squad: consistency in team selection, harmony within the dressing room, and a strong connection with our supporters. His vision and approach align closely with our objectives. Now, Charlie, we hinted at that in our video, the sort of behind the scenes stuff. So when this came out, did this sort of align with what you thought about why they made this decision?
Yeah, say you watch WD18 without saying you watch WD18. I think it was just so glaringly obvious, the issues with Paulo, and those 3 points there about the connection with the supporters, dressing room, and the young players just hit the nail on the head. And there's obviously a lot of bigger issues. There's systematic problems with Watford with the amount of head coaches we've had, but I think we came to the conclusion that we thought it was the right decision for now because of those 3 points. And I think as time has gone on, I do agree with it. Since then, and having thought about it more, and will it work under Javi and stuff like that, I think one thing that I'm big on now is kind of I need to see it to believe it. And yeah, the club have done a good job of the PR and getting all the good memories and the vibes and the feel back. However, like Sam referenced Kike Mark II, I do need to see it now to believe in it. I need to see on Saturday a resemblance of whether it's a good system that suits our players better, or the team all buying into what we're trying to do, or smart substitutions or whatever, because it's all right just going on what Javi did back then, but do you know what I mean? It's such different times now, and I just need to see something that I can buy into to fully be on board with Watford and what we're trying to do going forward. I mean, I think we all know we're a very short-term club. And again, a lot of the conversations still are about promotions and the young players and we're going to talk about kind of maybe strengthening the squad in a bit. But yeah, I just need to see something on the pitch now to get buy-in. And I think Javi would have been great in the training on the training ground. Do you know what I mean? Connecting with the players who aren't on international break. But he's also going to get buy-in because these are a lot of young players who have had many head coach, many different head coach who've been brought in different personnel. So they, especially with Clevs as well, how much connection he fostered and he got with those young players. So Javi's got a job getting them on side as well.
You talked about the PR there, Charlie, and with the club content, the coming home, which was a lovely clip. Troy's interview, which was brilliant with Javi. It was a really, really good watch. And I think nostalgia is a really big thing in football. As football fans, we always look back at the best days we've had with the club, Sam. And the club have obviously harped on about those times, understandably so. I mean, we're bringing back one of the most successful managers in the modern era at Watford Football Club, if not the most successful when you look at the last decade or so and what he achieved in that season that you were talking about, Sam. What I'm having this real sort of internal dilemma and internal conflict is that nostalgia with Javi and the love we all have for the man with what we actually need right now. And I will ask you this, is why do you think Watford have actually appointed him? Because this is his first job in a couple of years since he left Al Sadd. Watford's probably looked at the options and thought, okay, is he probably the best of the bunch available that we don't have to pay any compensation for, which is obviously a big, big factor as well. But why do you think they have decided to do that, Sam? And is that the right call in your eyes?
I mean, finding rationale with this football club is difficult at the best of times, to be honest with you. I think there is an element mainly of the vibes and the feel-good factor with football generally. This is something that I think Mike's spoken about quite a lot from the Rookery end, is that football is very much a vibes game and it's about feeling. And I think that because of the goodwill towards Tom Cleverley in the summer, and I don't want to bring it back to him again, but losing that for Paolo Pezzolano, who didn't have any sort of relationship with the fans, you could argue didn't have the time to build that relationship with the fans. I think they've got to do something. They had to sort of do something that would try and get fans back on side with a more familiar face. And that was always going to be, I feel like, either an English appointment or a former manager. I think it was always going to be one of those two, someone who was really, really experienced at this level. And I think Javi is probably the one that they landed on, to be honest with you. Because I think we've also, I can't remember the exact quote, but maybe I think that was an acceptance of a mistake when we sacked him initially in the first place.
So if you look here, Sam,
I think that's...
on that. Sorry, just to jump in, Scott Duxbury went on to say that his passion, leadership, and clear strategy will help us build stability, unity, and momentum. We are sure that there are many supporters who wish Javi had never departed in 2019. And with this young, exciting squad, we're convinced his experience and qualities are exactly what we need. So there was a sort of acknowledgement, Sam, that Scott Duxbury admitted that it might have not been the right call to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think so. Just this football club, it's just fascinating. I mean, I do think I think as well. Adam Jury came out and said that we tried to initially get Javi before Paolo Pezzolano came in. But to me, do you know what? It just strikes again that we're making it up as we go along. I don't really see a clear plan, to be honest with you. And so much of that, again, and this is where I take issue with the comms that came out over the summer, was saying we have to get promoted this season. Because I think that if the club didn't make such a big deal about us getting promoted, and of course we all, well, whether we want Premier League football is another question, but we all want Watford to succeed and be higher up the table and be fighting for a playoff spot or a promotion spot. But I do genuinely believe that if the club hadn't have made clear that Pezzolano was a promotion specialist, that we weren't going for that top 6 spot this season, they made such a big deal out of it, that I think fans would have been a lot more patient with Paolo, to be honest with you. Because our start hasn't been, on paper, yes, we would have wanted more. I think definitely from the performances, we would have 100% wanted more. But having built on those 3 results at the end of his reign, with those 2 wins and a draw coming from behind in all of those games, I think are we on 3 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses? It's not unbelievable, but it's not terrible. And in a way, that's a platform to build from. Now, that's not me saying that I wanted Paolo to stay. I noticed I worked out very quickly. I think I even said to both of you after Charlton away, when we went out together in town after the game, I said, this isn't going to work, I think. But I do think as well that the club and the comms surrounding him didn't help. And I think that's why one of the reasons Javi has come back in to try and rectify that.
No, I think it's a very fair point. And I think what was interesting on that article you mentioned, Sam, before we touch on sort of the second topic of today, was the inside story. I really recommend you giving this a read from Adam Jury, and he sort of goes through the reasons why. And Sam alluded to it there, that Watford did approach Javi Gracia after replacing Tom Cleverley, Tom Cleverley in the summer, but only recently undergone major hip surgery and broken ribs, so ruled himself out. I'm kind of a little bit torn on that, Charlie, because that just feels a little bit of revisionism there on terms of, as Sam mentioned, the comms that we heard about, Pezzolano being a promotion specialist, being great with young players, which was one of the reasons really he's been let go, was the relationship that Javi has with young players, as the sort of reason they've brought him back in. It feels a little bit, I don't know, I'm not totally convinced by that.
I think Kike, sorry, again, it just reminds me so much of that Kike, because I think Kike had surgery around the time that he came back as well, the second time around. Because I remember, I think one of the big things, I think he did a piece with Adam Leventhal years ago with The Athletic, but he was really big on the first time round. He would really get involved in training and be really hands-on. But then I think it was something like his ankle, his Achilles was completely gone, and he couldn't have the same role in training. And yeah, having that surgery really impacted him second time round. So a bit of deja vu for me there as well.
And to provide a bit of balance to Pezzolano, and it's a really good point from Sam, this was released also by The Guardian. So Pezzolano and his agency or his team have done a piece with Ed Aarons, and the claim was that Pezzolano sat by Watford after resisting pressure to use players linked to agent. Now, this agent is Mogi Bayat. We all know him and his association with the football club. But that's what was claimed by sources close to Pezzolano's staff, have alleged that his reluctance in his final 3 weeks to select players linked to Bayat resulted in him becoming the 11th manager Watford have moved on since the start of 2020. The players are understood to include the former France midfielder Moussa Sissoko, who's represented by Bayat's agency, the Danish forward Luca Kurumgor, and Belgian midfielder, not forward, Pierre Duomo, who joined in the summer in deals brokered by Bayat. It is understood Pezzolano was never directly told he must select certain players, but sources close to the Uruguayan have told The Guardian that he and his staff are regularly questioned by senior executives, including the sporting director Gianluca Nani and his deputy Valon Brahmi, about why some were not used more. Now, that's a fascinating piece, which again, I'd recommend to hear both sides of the argument. I'll let everyone will have their take on it. But Charlie, that was a very interesting claim. And the fact that I think what happened there is the statement came out from Watford and was very blunt about why they got rid of Pezzolano, basically, and why they brought in Javi. And he's turned around and gone, I'm not having that. I'm going to get my side of the story out. And now there was a little bit of a sort of comms PR mess after the sacking. What did you make of that article if you did read it?
It's just messy, isn't it? It's just like, go back to your point about them wanting to appoint Javi in the summer. Like, I don't know how much I buy that. Like, and there was also quotes about Brahmi saying, "Oh, he's such a high quality coach that he's in the Championship." I just think it's all part of a PR battle. And yeah, fair play for Pezzolano for having his say. I'm sure the truth's somewhere in the middle between it all, but it all just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I think we all know the reality that our football club is just run poorly, if we're honest. Like, some things are done really well, some things are done really badly, and this is one of those cases. So I try not to get too bogged down in like the details and stuff, because I've got an overall picture of what the reality is, and I think there's 10 years plus evidence of that. We've heard how many different stories about how many years has Mogi Bayat's name been brought up. So that is what it is. I'm not really interested in all of that. It's remarkable that we've got 20 minutes into this video and we haven't even talked about the main piece. It just shows what Watford's all about. But yeah, if people are interested in those details and those stories, they're all out there. it is what it is. I think I said in the last video, I'm at the place now where I can't get too emotionally attached to it, too angry about it, because that is the reality as long as Gino Pozzo is in charge. So my mindset is go to the circus and try and enjoy it.
Just lastly on that piece, I've just gone to the bottom. This is really interesting as well from Pezzolano's camp. In any squad of 30 players, there will always be some who are unhappy with limited playing time. That is part of football. However, the core group responsible for the team's recent performances was united, motivated, and increasingly optimistic. After his dismissal, Paulo received numerous messages from players thanking him and his staff for their work and dedication. They have also claimed that the high-pressure environment at Watford, everyone is under a lot of pressure to get results, and it's not a happy place to work, said the source. It's hard to achieve the goal of promotion because it is very difficult to implement your ideas with so much interference from the outside, Sam.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, look, to be honest with you, I don't think it's too different to what we knew already. Just sort of reaffirms everything that we knew. I can't remember who put this tweet out, but it was a sort of list of 4 or 5 examples that we've seen previously of similar events happening. Going back from Kike Flores saying all of his training sessions were being watched. We had, I think Rob Edwards, didn't he try and get rid of Cristiano Giuretta? And the week after that, Rob Edwards is out of a job as well. So we've sort of seen similar fallouts in the past as well. And yeah, I think we've all said it as multiple times. I don't think success at Watford in the long term, at least, is going to be achievable while not only the ownership are here, but the way that we work continues as well.
Sam, just finally on this, why? I know we've talked about why Watford have gone for Javi. Why has Javi taken this job?
I can see why he's taken the job, to be honest with you. I think firstly for him, to be honest with you, I should know more about Javi's career in detail, but I think without doubt it was probably the best and most successful period of his career so far as a manager. The fans absolutely loved him, and I think regardless of the sentiment towards Pozzo, towards Pezzolano, towards everything going on at the football club at the moment, I don't think there'll be any ill will towards Javi. And people will be right behind him come Sheffield United away on Saturday. That chant will be right back out. So I'm buzzing for that. So I think that's one reason why. But of course, he's been out of management for a little while now. I mean, his stock, of course, would have fallen in England after things didn't go too well at Leeds. I think he started quite well at Leeds, and it fell off and ended up getting relegated under Sam Allardyce, I think, as well, for the last 3 or 4 games. So I think it's an opportunity for him to repair his stock a bit as well in England, and then hopefully break into the major leagues in Europe again.
There we go.
And of course, if things don't go well, there's a nice little payoff at the end of it.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to know the contract that was agreed. Right, it's a 2-year deal, if I remember correctly.
Paulo only got 1, didn't he?
With an option of a further. Yeah, that was the deal with Paulo Pezzolano. But look, that's probably the sort of our final thoughts on it. Unless you guys have anything to add on this one, it feels crazy. I mean, I guess we'll get into it sort of later on. But I'm watching that interview with Troy. Javi re-emphasised tactically that Loser has to play as a 6. Now, that obviously begs the question of what formation they'll go with. Now, I think it'll be a 4-2-3-1, personally. And that sort of 10 role is really up for debate with Chakvedadze out, whether it'll be Ivata, whether it'll be whoever in that sort of role. But the fact of the matter is he's made it clear that Loser has to play as a 6. Or will it be a 4-3-3 with Loser at the base, Nikiprianu and someone in front? That's what we'll have to wait and see come Saturday at Sheffield United. One man who looks to be involved in the Watford squad in the future is a man who's also been here before, and that is Emmanuel Dennis. Now, this came out yesterday as breaking news. Emmanuel Dennis returning. It's the Daily Mail who've reported this one. Simon Jones, that Watford are set to sign former striker Emmanuel Dennis for the 3rd time in 4 years after being released by Nottingham Forest in the summer. I'll just get the article up here so that people watching can see it. Watford are exploring return for striker Emmanuel Dennis. The 27-year-old was a free agent after terminating his contract with Nottingham Forest by mutual consent in August. He was at Blackburn, if you remember, last season with Valérien Ismaël. He obviously had a successful spell at Watford in 2021-22, scoring 10 goals in 35 games after then Forest stepped in to sign him for £10 million a season later. But since then, Charlie, he hasn't really done anything, Emmanuel Dennis. We obviously brought him back under Valérien Ismaël. And Dennis has been eager to remain in one of the top leagues, despite interest from clubs far and wide. He has been particular about where he ends up. And the reports are that he's willing to take a fraction of his wage bill to join Watford. Now, this was it's a lot of on-screen stuff today, but a lot of details I want to make sure we get right. Dennis's fitness is to be assessed today. This is from Adam Drury, ahead of a possible deal. They consider bringing the forward back for a third spell at Vicarage Road. No deal has been agreed with Dennis, who may not be available to feature for at least a month should he sign. And any deal would revolve heavily around promotion-based incentives. Thoughts, Charlie Zazzera?
When this news came out yesterday, I was busy and I was kind of working away, and it was one of those, when you normally see a bit of Watford, we wouldn't even call this big news, but I just looked at my phone and was like, yeah, that's about right. And kind of didn't even give it a second thought. When actually trying to think about it, it's just I haven't thought about it too much because it's just mental, but I think I've landed on why. And it's not like I hate the move and I'm angry about it or anything like that. Because like I said, I'm not getting too emotional about anything really that happens to this club. But just why, when you actually look at it, and like if we've got time today, like we can go through like how we might line up and what the squad will look like. But just why? Where's he going to fit? And especially in the day where yesterday we saw one of our players, Mama, tearing it up in the World Cup under-20s. I think he's got 4 goal involvements, a crazy assist. I think we posted on our channels, so check that out. And so why are we bringing Dennis back now? If you look at Dennis, if you look at him on like transfer marks, what's his best position? He's played the majority of his career actually as a full striker. So if you think, okay, is he strength in depth as a striker? We've got Kurumgor, Semedo, who's played the majority of minutes, and again Doumbia, who I really like and want to see him play more. Obviously, him and Paolo fell out, or like Paolo just didn't fancy him at all. But I really like Doumbia. This season he's had it hard. He played like left wing against Charlton, and I mean left wing, which was hard. But I really liked him. He started one game randomly, like as front of a 2, and didn't really get a look in. So, and then you look at, okay, so is Dennis going to play on the left or the right? And then he's going to be competing with Bar, Vata, Irakunda, who scored for Australia, scored the winner. Georgie Chatfordazzi, who am I missing? Like, we're stacked in these positions. Can you see him as playing as a 10? If we are playing that 4-2-3-1, I don't really see him as a 10 personally. So, although when I think about him and when I looked at his spell at Watford, he got a huge goal for us against Birmingham in a 1-0 win, Cleverley's first game. And he also scored a really good goal against Leeds. There's undeniable quality that around the penalty box, he can be clinical. But, and that's a massive but, and if you look at last season, he went on loan to Blackburn, featured in 7 games. He had 1 start, 1 assist, 1 red card. So obviously he wasn't fancied at Blackburn. He's 27 years old. I just can't see him, even for him, like even if he's part of a good squad, he's going to be surely getting minutes here and there. I just don't. My big question is why. So, Jacob, why are Watford doing this move?
I mean, the only
backflips, triple backflips.
Yeah, literally, it must be that. It must be that. I mean, look, I think you made a really good point there, Charlie, about the strikers we have at the club already, which is Kurumgor, Semedo, Doumbia. An average age of probably about 21, right? Dumbia's 19, Semedo's 21, Kurumgor's 24. So in that sort of 21 bracket, and Dennis is 27 and has played the highest level out of all 4 of those guys. I'm struggling, though, to understand the logic here. I think the fact he can't play for a month is a bit of an issue. And maybe they are looking ahead to the December-January fixture period where we will have a lot and there will be rotation opportunities. I think a lot of this is based, Charlie, on what system we play. Because for me, Dennis's best position is out on the left, cutting inside and sort of drifting into those sort of central areas. And we saw him at his best when he was doing that under Cisco, and then in that season under Ranieri and Hodgson. You know, I think of that sort of relationship at times he had with Josh King and sort of feeding off a main striker. I think of Everton away as a prime example that Sam was at. But I just think the idea of Dennis and the reality are like two completely separate things, and two things that I'm really just think that they're miles away from each other. I think again, it kind of goes back to the Javi thing about the nostalgia of a move. And I think we have some really good memories of Dennis in a Watford shirt, but he didn't exactly rip it up when he was last here. And you could tell it. Look, there was that one really good performance he had against Leeds, I remember, where he scored an absolute beauty with it, and he did a backflip, ironically enough. But I didn't come away from it going, he's increased the level of our squad significantly. I think he's a player that can go hot and cold quite a lot. I think on his day, he's brilliant. But I think that's the thing for me, Sam. It's on his day. We're not looking at a guy who's shown consistency in his second spell in a Watford shirt. He would argue he came in January. It's hard to get fitness up, and he was coming off a bit of a spell where he hadn't played a lot of football and he was low on confidence. Clearly, he wants to move to Watford because that's where he's played his best football in his career. That's where he felt at home. That's where he felt his most confident. And there'll be a lot of people saying, if we can get that Dennis back, what an asset to have in the Championship. My question is very similar to and thoughts are very similar to you, Charlie. For you, Sam, is will we actually see that?
Yeah, I actually feel really similar about this that I do about Javi coming back. I feel like it's very 50-50. There's a lot of pros, a lot of cons, and a lot of the pros I feel like way towards nostalgia. And I think the cons are all going to be fitness, because I think if you do get an Emmanuel Dennis fit and firing like we saw in the Premier League, I mean, he's in the peak of his, should be in the peak of his career at the moment at 27, 28 years old, then without doubt he'll be potentially one of the most deadly players, not only at Watford, but in the division generally. So it could be really on that. It's just the concerns about, can he get fit and will he get fit? I don't know what's happened here, but I think there's a very good chance that Emmanuel Dennis has offered himself to Watford for a fraction of the price and said, I'm a free agent. Can I come back? Is there an opportunity to come back? Is his agent Mogi, or am I making that up?
I don't know. I can't confirm on that. But all I know is he's played 7 games since May 2024.
Yeah, and I think as well, though, he's always going to be someone who, I want to say majority of Watford fans, I know not all Watford fans, some Watford fans didn't like him, but hold him in quite high regard. I think back to the first WD18 Cup, we sent messages to pretty much the entire squad, didn't we? And we managed to get a signed shirt from Dennis, didn't we? After, I can't remember what game it was, but you two met him outside the ground, didn't you? And managed to get this match-worn shirt that we auctioned off. So, yeah, he's someone who really bought into that aspect of the community. But, yeah, I just think as well, it's just the timing of this is just, particularly with how good Mama has been at this Under-20s World Cup. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've watched every minute of it. I haven't. I've only watched the highlight reels that I've seen on Twitter. But it just feels that it could potentially block the development of other players, including Mama, who we were going to send out on loan, weren't we? But the club was so impressed with him in training, they kept him back. Where does he fit into the picture now? Because there's no point in him playing under 21s football, I don't think. Rocco Vata, Aaron Kunda, Chat Patazzi, when he comes back, where does it leave everyone? So I think, like Charlie, I'm just almost questioning, why are we doing it?
Yeah, and on that note, Charlie's walked out because he just had enough of this.
Just can't do it. Just can't do it.
Returning and people returning to Watford. I mean, look, Sam, it's I've got a couple of theories on this, right? Do you reckon that he could have been brought in earlier, and maybe Paolo Pezzolano didn't want him, but Javi thinks he can get a tune out of him?
Yeah, I think definitely. I can't remember why he wasn't kept on after that season with Valerian Ishmael and at the back end, Tom Cleverley. I can't remember why he wasn't kept on, because you'd assume that was potentially spoken about as well. So yeah, I mean,
probably his wages. He would be on massive wages from his Forest deal.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. We've almost had to wait for him to become a free agent. I think back to, in a way, with Javi, and it's so early because we don't know what Javi 2.0 is necessarily going to look like. Maybe we can look at a predicted starting 11 in a second for Sheffield United, but he has had a tendency with Watford to almost pick up these, let's call them troubled souls for now, and turn them into much better players. I look back at Jose Holebas, who wasn't 100% happy at Watford at the time, and we saw the best out of him under Javi. Etienne Capoue didn't have a good start to life in England at Tottenham, became one of the best midfielders I've seen ever play for Watford, if not the best. And of course, Gerard Deulofeu as well, who was a bit hit and miss, a bit inconsistent, I feel like, at Everton. So, yeah, you know, I think Javi will be fancying that he can get a similar tune out of Emmanuel Dennis to that.
I mean, the only thing to add on it, really, the club will argue that Dennis coming in gives us a better chance of us scoring in games. I mean, ultimately, we haven't scored more than twice in a game so far this season. And he does know where the back of the net is if he's playing his best football. That's not a doubt, no doubt about that. But I guess, does Georgie's injury come into it a little bit, Charlie? And some would say because it gives us cover on the left, because Georgie would normally play on the left of a three. Some would say centrally, but we all know he's better drifting inside. Do you reckon the argument there is that Dennis covers a couple of positions, probably gives a bit of experience in the front line, probably increases our firepower? He does, if he's playing his best football, he does, but it's an if. It's such a huge if, I think.
Yeah. I'm just putting together like the squad depth, so I'm not being rude as I'm typing, but just to get an understanding of what it looks like. And something you said there about his best position, Jacob, about him coming off the left, kind of sparked a memory of him, and maybe that's an area where are we a bit light because we haven't seen that formation really. We've seen, if you look at kind of our wingers in Bowler and Wiley, they've been quite good at. Well, definitely Bowler, I've been impressed with his crossing and Wiley getting to the byline, but we haven't seen enough of Vata. We haven't seen enough of Irukunda as the left. He's been deployed more centrally. So is that a space where maybe Dennis can play? And the only other thing, a pro that could be, and I think in the summer we're all crying out for all the strikers that we want. We'd like someone a bit more experienced. He fits that profile pretty well. So, and then another thing you've got to consider is injuries. Injuries just happen. There's going to be loads of games. All it takes is for like two strikers to get injured, and we're left with or one striker to get injured. So I think there's a massive, especially when you saw the content coming out when we returned last time round. He said about how much he loved the club, how desperate he was to come back. And I think this whole narrative about his bad attitude and him being a bag, I think is completely false. Sam referenced the kind of that little anecdote about how he was the one who came forward and donated his shirt. And I think the bad narrative thing's false personally. So if he's happy to just get involved, be playing, like training with the lads, somewhere he feels comfortable, do you know what I mean? Get involved in match days squad, build up his fitness, get him on the bench. And if we do need, he's not a bad player to bring on, is he? So loads of questions, but I think there are definitely pros and cons. And like we didn't, not enough time and probably not enough kind of sample size to see how many. But I've just been interested about kind of the reaction online and even kind of people's opinions on this move. But I think we did a poll and I think 60% say yes and 40 say no, which I imagine is a bit more of a younger online fan base who remember those Premier League spell who is edging it towards that. But in reality, it's probably 50-50. But yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And if we're seeing a winner in front of the Rookery where Bar, Irukunda are in front of the Rookery and we see a triple backflip, I'm all in.
I think just to finally sort of touch on it before we talk about the lineup, I think one bit that maybe isn't being spoken about enough is, if judging by Dennis coming in, they're saying it provides an experienced option. But basically what you're saying there really with bringing him in is they don't fully back or are committing to Kurumgor, Semedo and Dumbia to deliver the goals that they want. And when you look at Watford strikers, lads, since 2015-16, the only striker to score over 15 in a season is Odion Ighalo in 15-16. Odion Ighalo in 15, that's 10 years ago. The last time a striker...
The Crow had a good effort last year.
Scored over 15. And I think probably the bigger question a bit is that questions need to be asked about that, because I think Kurumgor, given a run of games, I think I've seen enough to suggest that he could be a really good striker for us. And that's the bit, if we go back to Pezzolano's comments and his sources saying about Kurumgor should have been playing, well, he should have been playing. That's one that you got completely wrong. For me, he has to be starting. You could argue Sissoko and Duomo's come back from fitness, but Kurumgor should be starting as our main number 9. That's what he's been billed as when he came in. So I think there is something interesting to be said about, are the club backing those options to deliver? Because the narrative that was being built again was building a strike force of Vidra, Dini, Igalo, Forestieri, like we did in 2014-15 with Semedo, Kurumgor, Dumbia. And are they suggesting that Dennis is the fourth of that of those guys? So,
am I right in saying that some people have suggested he's been training at Watford for like a couple of weeks? Could the thing that's kind of changed now to accelerating contract talks be Javi coming in? And look what Javi did when he first came, when you had Dini as that backboard, and we've got Kurumgor, who I think will be taking that role, and then you've had Delafeu or Andre Gray off him. So maybe that could be the thing that's changed. That's Javi's come in and they've said, look, there's an option here. Do you fancy it? And maybe Javi's given it the seal of approval.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think something that's dawned on me actually, Jacob, and I think we've spoken about it before, but just how much, and I don't think this is a good thing actually, how much the club are leaning in on the nostalgic element of things this season in terms of now Javi coming back, Emmanuel Dennis potentially coming back, the statements in the summer about we want someone in the mould of, I can't remember the managers that they quoted, but we want attacking football with the likes of Dini, Forestieri, Vidra, Igalo.
So Jukanovic were mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we can't, in football, you always have to be moving forward. And I just
that's all they've got.
Exactly. But this is what I mean. They're just clinging on to anything that they've got that could keep any goodwill. So, yeah, frustrating, I think. I don't actually think it's a good thing, as nice as it is in the moment to look back at stuff and looking at videos and watching that video of Dini and Javi, watching back our best moments from 2018, 2019. And it was a really good video, but that's not going to help us now, I don't think, to be honest with you.
It's to a point, isn't it? And let's be honest, lads, and this goes for sort of life, I think, in general, not to go on like a deeper point, but when you kind of get nostalgic, it's normally when you're going through a moment where it's not that good in your life, or if it all going well with your football club, you kind of harp on about the good old days because it's not what we used to be a little bit. And I think there's an element of that where Watford are not where they used to be as a football club, but also those moments we had and the players we had. Like, ultimately, we're nowhere near that 2018-19 team. I mean, if the two teams played now, it would probably be a cricket score, let's be honest. So there is a big gulf in quality. Just on Dennis, the last thing I will say, he scored 4 goals in his last spell, including that winner against Birmingham, if you remember, in Tom Cleverley's first game as head coach. And that kept us up, basically. In that spell, he had the second highest starts to goals ratio in the squad from January onwards. So he would argue, and the club would argue, if we get him to fitness, even those 5 goals this season could have a big part to play. We shall see. But that does look like it's going to happen.
Sorry, quick one before we talk about Sheffield United. I know it's longer than expected. Rank, Sam, because your birthday, you can do it, but do it as quick as possible. Rank those 4 strikers. Our 4 strikers.
Current ones. Is that including Emmanuel Dennis, you're saying?
Yes.
As well? When they're all at their absolute best, I think Emmanuel Dennis has to go top of that. At their best. I'd then probably put Luca second. I really like him. I'd go Mama in 3, Dumbia, and Semedo in 4. But I've seen some stuff I like in Semedo, on Semedo as well. It's tough. It's very close between 3 and 4, that, but I think comfortably Dennis and Luca are the best 2.
Yeah, agreed.
I was gonna give another not ranking one. But if you had to pick someone to go on a night out with between Paolo, Vladimirovic, and Walter Mazzari, who would you pick?
Oh my goodness!
Probably Paolo.
Yeah. I mean,
I do think Adam Drury has said that Watford fans haven't necessarily seen the good side to him necessarily. Apparently, he's quite funny, quite a fun bloke, almost when he's not in the spotlight, so to speak.
I'd choose Sanino over all 3 of those.
imagine going for a couple of drinks of Zola. Oh, it'd be gorgeous, wouldn't it?
Cool.
Couple of red wines.
Shall we finish off with the Sheffield United team, Charlie?
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's do this. So, yeah, I've quickly got together, which I think is a good snapshot, really, of the squad, not including. Is that zoomed in enough, or should I go one more?
A little bit more, maybe. Yeah, beautiful.
All right, it's all out of kilter, but you get. Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to go back. Just yeah, it's quite hard to see. Apologies about. Can I go a bit more? What's your guys' actual impression of this when you look at this as a whole? Jacob, why don't you answer that, and then Sam, why don't you say what you want to see on Saturday?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think one thing we've seen this season is Watford play quite a few different systems and formations, whether that's a back four, a back three, a back five at times, with players out of position. And probably the one thing you will say is we're yet to land on our best team. I could probably tell you what that is on paper, but we sort of yet to see it in action. And that will be Javi's biggest task, I think. When you look at the squad on paper, there is depth in each position. Some would say, is there quality in every position? That's probably up for debate on some. But ultimately, Watford have 2 or 3 players in each position. Now, I think we're absolutely nailed on to play a back four with Javi. I'd be surprised if it was a 3, even though he did use that a bit more at Al Sadd. But I think that sort of loser insight to me suggested it will either be 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. I think 4-2-3-1 is the best system for this team, personally. I don't know. But if you said to me right here, right now, what team will he go with, Charlie or Sam? I'd struggle, actually, to predict a team. I could probably give you what I think the team should be. But, Sam, if you predict Javi's first team, I think it could be some wild guesses.
Yeah.
Go on, Sam. Predict the first team for Saturday.
The team Javi would go with, by the way, not.
Yeah, the team Javi would go with, and I must say this is not what I would go with. This is what I think Javi will go with. I think it will be Ucko in goal. I think it will be Jeremy and Gracia at right back. Although I'm very excited for Jeremy Petrie potentially under Javi in that Kiko Femenia role, maybe. I think it'll be in Gracia on Saturday. I think it will be Kevin and Max Elaine, who got man of the match for England on the 21s last night.
I'm not being funny, sorry, just to interrupt, because I watched that game yesterday. I think we might underestimate how good Max Elaine is. Watching him with better players, and Dave, DCW from the Rookery End, he said Max Elaine looks 10 times better when he's not having to clip the ball into Sissoko in midfield, and it's such a good point. Like, the fact he had like 3 or 4 options, and he is so good, and I think it'd be a real shame. I think he could be playing for Man City in about 3 seasons' time. I think he's that good. So I agree with Sam's shout of him being a starter personally.
Yeah, invest in those stocks. Yeah, I think it'll be Caben and Max Elaine with Caleb Wiley at left back.
Just to jump in there, Sam. Sorry, just to jump in. Is there an argument to be said about foremost Mendy? Because the club spent a significant, or it was a loan with an option to buy, or a deal that looks like is going to happen. And one of the reasons that was sort of documented was Pezzolano's lack of appetite to play him, and whether it would be Caben and Mendy as a 2 or Caben and a Bankwood. Do you think Elaine would, just correct me, Charlie, yesterday, did Elaine play in a 2 or was it a 3?
Played in a 2.
That's food for thought, I think, because I think Caben's nailed on to start.
I think Max Elaine is our best centre-back, to be honest with you. Early call, straight away. I know he's only played, 7 or 8 games in senior men's football, but I think he's our best centre-back. I don't think he's got to start. So I think it's a case of Mendy, Pollock, Cabana Bankwa as that other centre-back. And there'll be plenty of opportunity for rotation generally. And we will see the likes of Mendy, particularly as the Christmas period comes up. I'm sure we'll see that rotated quite a lot. So yeah, Caleb Wiley at left back. I think Hector Cipriano will come back into the side with next to the Kip next to Imi in midfield. I know how much Charlie loves me calling him Imi. And again, this is where I must say, I state this is what I think Javi will do, not what I would do. But then I think it'll be Musa Sissoko in there, in that sort of 3 or that 4-2-3-1. And then I think it will be Rocco Vata, because Aaron Kunda will be travelling back from international duty. Although I don't think they were actually I don't know if they were in Australia this time around, but he obviously scored as well. So I don't think Aaron Kunda will start. I think we will see KB from the start this time around as well. I think that was a big reason potentially why Pezzolano was sat, was the lack of KB. And then I think it will be, this is really, really tough.
Well, it can't be Dennis.
No. I think it will be Kiram Gore up front.
I think it should be him as well, right?
Yeah. I think it's going to be that.
The lone striker, he's the best option we have.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I would go with, to be honest with you. If you're listening on audio, I've gone with Egil Selvik, Jeremy Ngakia, Kevin Caben, Max Elaine, Caleb Wiley, Imran Louza, the Kip, Hector Kipriano, Quadro Bar, Musa Sissoko, Rocco Vata, who I'm really excited about under Javi. I almost see him in that Delafeu role, so to speak. And Luca Kiram Gore up top. Do you two think it will be anything different?
Go on, Charlie.
I think you nailed it. And one thing, like looking back to the actual squad, it is a really good squad. And although I've given Gino pelters for a while, but like the squad that is assembled is strong. I'm not saying it's a top 6 squad because there's a lot still we don't know about in terms of Mendy and even like Kiram Gore, really. Like we've seen the early signs, but we don't know if he's a banker for 20 goals. But I was looking at the squad and I was thinking, Jesus, do you know what I mean? That is the best we've had in years and years. So, and yeah, I think you're right, Sam. I think this will be the situation. I think I agree with Jacob. I think it will be a 4-2-3-1. Again, what Javi said was interested about Loser playing deeper. I personally like Loser playing deeper. I know a lot of people say he's got qualities. We saw it like Portsmouth away with his goal, but I like him dictating play. I think we can really get kind of a hold of possession, and he can create chances and progress us up the field from there. And I think Cipriani is the perfect profile for a 2 where we are going to be stretched and he'll put out fires. And I think that number 10 spot is just we just need to keep it warm for Georgie. We don't know how old he is, but let's not forget that Georgie Champfadazzi could be our best player. Him and Loser find out. Would he finish second as our player of the year last season? We don't know how long it is, but I also like the idea of dropping Vata as a number 10. Or, do you know what I mean? Kiram Gore, we see play, not Kiram Gore. Irakunda, we've seen as a second striker, so there's no reason why he can't play as a 10. I've lost him. Here he is. And even get those 3 playing and just say to them every 15 minutes, just change position. We've seen Bar playing off the left. We could really make it flexible and we could see some liquid football. So I think it's really exciting. And on paper, I think Javi, do you know what I mean? We've said about on the last 3 streams now, just get the vibes up, get a structure in place, get players in their best position, and it should be fairly straightforward. And if anyone's not performing, you're looking at your bench and you've got really good options. So I like it. I know I keep going to Jacob when I pass it on, but I like to get his takes. But any changes you would make to that starting 11? I do think Sam's right. Sissoko will play.
I've just had a thought as well. I do have actually a feeling that Kiembe could play as well. It wouldn't shock me if Bar's actually on the bench, Sissoko off the right, and Kiembe in that midfield 3 as well. Wouldn't surprise me if we saw that either.
I would say, I think a few thoughts on the team, lads. I think if you play Bar, you have to play Ngakia, because for me, Bar should be told, not don't track back, but your job should be going the other way. And Ngakia gives us more protection than Petrus. I would say when I look at the back 2, there's a lot of options there. I do worry a little bit for Matty Pollock, if I'm honest. I think Caben, Mendy, Elaine, even a Bankwa will be looked at. I like the midfield 2 of Loser Cipriani. You say to Loser, you're the deep line playmaker. You say to Cipriani, you're more of an 8 that can go on a bit more. For me, the number 10 is the biggest thing. I would go with Iran Kunda. I think he's magic. And in that number 10, you want someone. When I look at what the teams in the past, I'm going to be the nostalgia merchant and look at 4-2-3-1s we had. That number 10 needs to be creative. It needs to be linking up those 2 with the front man. And I think Iran Kunda does bring us that. I don't think Sissoko does. When I look at the way we played at Charlton away on the first game of the season, Sissoko, whether it was tactically or not, was just completely out of the game as our number 10. He wasn't involved at all. And for me in this system, that number 10 has to be proactive. It has to be creating a lot and bringing our wide players into the game. I love the fact that Vata is going to be cutting inside off the left. I think that's a really, really good option with Wiley overlapping. Even that works in Mark Bowler in that left back spot as well. I think that we have to have someone cutting inside off the left. So for me, lads, I'm all for it. The number 10, though, for me should be Eren Kunda, even if it's Vata as a 10 and you have Eren Kunda off the left. But
yeah, I think it's worth thinking about as well, just for Sheffield United, that this is a 3-game week as well. We're going into as well.
True.
We play West Brom on Wednesday night next week, I want to say, or Tuesday night next week. Yeah, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, I think. And then we go to Coventry, don't we, which is going to be a really tough game. So, yeah, I think it's unlikely, at least, that we'll see Eren Kunda start away at Sheffield United, which is going to be a really tough game. I know they are bottom of the league and have had an absolutely terrible start of the season. I think they've lost, 8 out of their 9 games. Chris Wilder's back there very quickly after losing his job in the summer. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think they'll be looking at Watford. I think particularly Chris Wilder will be looking at us and his experiences with us a couple of years ago, and almost be thinking back to almost like our soft underbelly and thinking that he can really get at Watford and cause us some problems. So should we get our predictions in?
Let's do predictions. I think we'll get a point on the road. I'm going to go 1-1.
Nice. Charles?
I watched a video, a championship like review, and they were predicting this game, and people were talking about Sheffield United. I've seen a couple of bits of content now where people are talking of Sheffield United. I haven't seen them this season, but as genuine relegation candidates for what they've done this season, which I thought I couldn't imagine that, especially with some of their players like Gus Harmer and Callum O'Hare. And then I look at Watford's history of being that team that always gives the other team a bounce. I am going to go for a positive. Watford 3, Sheffield United 3. Come on!
I thought you were just going to leave it at 3-0, and then I was like, 3-3?
Do you know what? I know we often laugh at Charlie, but I feel like this week could be the time we actually see it. The 3-3.
Sam, I take Charlie takes all that. I take them very seriously. I never laugh at Charlie.
That is true. That is true. I never laugh at Charlie. Just
on,
Sam, get off the fence. What are you doing? Which side of the fence are you on?
Splinters.
I'm going in the middle of you two. I'm going to go with 2-2.
2-2. Well, let us know your score predictions in the comment section below. It was a bumper episode today. A lot to discuss as usual. Sam, an absolute treat having you back in the squad as a 3. Look, Charlie, it wasn't the same, was it? I know we say that a lot, but it's great. Like Charlie, it does feel Dini Igalo when it's with Charlie, but with Sam, it feels that Vidra's in the mix as well. And then you have Forestieri. It just feels
who's who? That's the question. We'll let people decide in the comments.
Let us know the video of the podcast. Let us know who would be who. Thanks so much, Hornets, for watching. Hope you're all good. Hope you're well. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We will be back on Sunday, hopefully, if the lads... I know Charlie's on holiday, isn't he? So it might
You can, but I won't be there.
Can't go us. It can. We will see you at the weekend to talk about Sheffield United. It might just be myself and Sam, or even some other people. We'll wait and see. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe to WD18, leave a review if you're listening on audio. We had loads of listeners on our Javi, Gracia, Pezzolano pods, which we really, really do appreciate. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we will see you next time. Take care and up the audits. You want?